Hey guys, my name's Matt, and thanks to YUGIPROTEGE, again, thank you YUGIPROTEGE, for allowing me to upload here on his channel. I'm bringing you guys a deck profile. Now, this deck I usually play because it's one of my signature decks. Now, over on my own channel, which will be in the description, it's the Heartbroken Man. I do deck profiles, I do pack openings, and really anything and all things Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, here is my Lightsworn deck profile. I started off with the obvious starter engine, the 3 JDs, and the usual stuff. And I threw in a little flair, and I started testing it, and it did very well. So first off the list, we got 3 Judgment Dragons. Main boss of the deck, Big Daddy, made to blow up the field and then create gigantic attacking monsters. Next we have 1 BLS. Now I realized BLS in this deck is probably the best thing to do, because I run Curry Bandits, Necrogardnas, and stuff like that, so that it can get on the field a lot faster, and it allows you to destroy a monster on your opponent's side of the field. Or you can attack twice. Then you have 1 Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. Now this is in here just in case you got a really dead hand and you don't want to play anything. Then you have 2 Chaos Sorcerers, because with the Necrogardnas and the Curry Bandits, which are both dark monsters, being in your grave, it'll allow you to summon these monsters a lot easier considering every other card that a Lightsworn is light. Next we have 2 Wolf, mainly because an extra name in the grave gets special summoned when it's sent to the grave, and you guys know all the other stuff about this. Then we have 3 Raiden, which is main key component in any Lightsworn deck, because it allows you to mill 2 during your turn and then mill another 2 at the end of your turn. Then we have 3 Lila, because I don't run any MSTs. With Lila, it allows you to destroy back rows, and it allows you to Xyz / Synchro Summon as much as possible, and another name for JD in the grave. Next we have 2 Fleece, mainly because it gets sent to the grave and then special summon, kind of like Wolf. Fleece is a little different though. Instead of having a high attack, it has a high defense. Now, it gets summoned, it's a tuner, so it would allow you to go for Synchros, and it's another name for JD. But you can also ditch it to destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, and then you have to mill 3 more cards. Next we have 2 Honest, because only running 1 didn't allow enough speed to get through it to use it for monster reincarnation or use it as a defending block. Then we have 2 Mathematicians. Now I ran 3 originally, but it ran too slow, so I had to take 1 out, and it ran a lot better with just 2 in the deck. Next we have 3 Lumina, main key component in any Lightsworn deck. Ditch a card from your hand to special summon a Lightsworn from your grave. Next we have 3 Curry Bandit. Now most people either just run Curry Bandit or most people just run Mathematician, because it's a lot of draw power and a lot of burning through your deck fast. But I ran 2 Mathematicians and 3 Curry Bandits, because the 3 Curry Bandits, it allows you to get it when you need it and to mill it when you don't need it. And if, let's say you have a Curry Bandit on the field, you activate his effect and you mill another Curry Bandit, that's just fuel for the BLS. 2 Necrogardnas, because with 2 it gets ditched to the grave a lot faster. With 1 you have a rare occurrence of pulling it, which kind of stinks, but it can happen. Next we have 3 Solar Recharge, because this deck is basically all Lightsworn, so Solar Recharge at 3 will allow you to have it in your hand almost always first turn. If not first turn, then second turn. Next we have 2 monster reincarnations for Judgment Dragon, BLS, Chaos Sorcerers, or really any card that's in the grave that you want in your hand. Maybe you want another Curry Bandit or something. Next we have 1 Foolish Burial, only because it's at 1, so you can only really play 1. I wish it was at 2, because this deck would run a lot faster with 2. You use Foolish Burial to bounce the wolf out of your deck to your grave and then summon it, or you could just use it to ditch a random card to your grave so that you can summon Judgment Dragon, or you can just send Necrogardner just so you don't draw it. Next we have 2 Charge of the Light Brigade. Due to April's ban list, it is now at 2, and I love it, because now I pull Charge of the Light Brigade so much easier in this deck. I pull it so much easier turn 1, if not turn 1, kind of like Solar Recharge, I pull it turn 2. In some chances, when I do activate Solar Recharge, I do pull Charge of the Light Brigade. That's why I like it at 2. Next we have 2 Beckoning the Light. Now as of this recording, I have this at 2, and I'm running into it a lot more than I would want to, but that's a good thing sometimes. Sometimes you can mill the Beckoning the Light so you can use monster reincarnation, but sometimes you can activate this or keep it in your hand and just use it as a fuel for the monster reincarnation. Now you also have 1 Breakthrough Skill, because Breakthrough Skill in this deck helps a lot, because some decks kind of heavily rely on their effects going off, and this kind of stops it. Or I ran into a problem against YUGIPROTEGE when I was dueling him the other day, and I for some reason didn't activate Breakthrough Skill on my own Judgment Dragon, because all I had was 3 cards left and Judgment Dragon was the only card in the field. Could have saved myself, but I was stupid. Next on to the extra deck, we have one Scrap Dragon. Scrap Dragon's there because of if I can't get Michael or I can't get Judgment Dragon on the field to destroy cards, I can use Scrap Dragon. Next, we have one Blood Misfit. Now, this was a last minute entry into this deck due to the fact that I wanted to put a couple new cards in it that no one's ever seen before and have them actually work. Some of them didn't work, so I had to take them out. Blood of the Misfit is in here because I ran into people having so many cards in their hand that if this card was in my deck, it could damage them so much. And so I put it in. I played with it a couple duels, and shockingly, it helped so much more than I thought because I killed so many people. Because I could summon Blood Mist first turn, summon Judgment Dragon, and then wait. Mill the 4. 4 usually get milled. 1 is usually Wolf, and 1 is probably Felice most of the time. If not those two, then I get Necrogarden in the grave, which is a great thing to me. So then they lose 300 life points for each card your opponent controls, and they lose 300 each time they want to set a spell or trap card. So basically, you're creating a little bit of a burn enough for you to blow them away with Judgment Dragon or BLS or Chaos Sorcerer. Next we have Stardust. Well, it's Stardust. I don't really need to explain it. It's basically indestructible. Next we have Michael, the Arc Lightsworn. Due to the Lightsworn structure deck coming out, which is one of the reasons why I picked up this deck and I actually liked it, was Michael. Michael was a new Lightsworn card that wasn't introduced in the original set. Now Michael's effect's kind of like BLS, but it only destroys one card. That's the down part. It's only destroying one. It's not supposed to be like Judgment Dragon. It's just supposed to destroy one monster, so it's not overpowered deck, so people don't play it all the time. But I want people to play this deck. The Lightsworns are my favorite archetype. Next we have Black Rose Dragon, just for blowing up the field completely if you have no plays, or you want to blow up the field and then summon Judgment Dragon so you don't have to pay the 1,000 points. Next we have 2 Arcana Knight Magicians. Now this deck, I've never seen anybody play in Lightsworns, and I tried it. This deck basically will obliterate your opponent. When it's summoned, it puts 2 spell counters on it, and then you feel like it, you can remove 1 spell counter. It doesn't say how many times per turn, so you can remove both to destroy a card on the field for each spell counter. So if you remove both, yes, it'll go back down to its original attack, which is 400, but you can destroy 2 cards on the field. So if someone's playing that burn deck, much like Lava Golem, Nurse Burn, you destroy half the back row. Now on to the Xyz. We have Fujintai, sorry guys, can't pronounce that. It's basically indestructible, and it allows for a little bit more mill power because when it's summoned, it sends 5 cards from the top of your deck to the grave. Next we have 101, standard for any deck nowadays. Evil Sworn Exciton Knight, again, it's a staple in any extra deck. Next we have 2 Lavalval Chain. Now I use this card a little bit different than most people. Most people would send cards to the grave. Now sometimes I do send a Necrogardenas, or I send Felice or Wolf, or I just send a random Lightsworn monster so that I can summon Judgment Dragon. But other times when I feel like it and I don't have Judgment Dragon in hand or really any Lightsworns left on the field, I send the card to the top of my deck. Because if I have Lila in hand and a Raiden in hand and 2 Judgment Dragons, I'm sitting there waiting for Judgment Dragon to have cards in his hand. So what I do is I use Lavalval Chain to put then a random card. It does not really matter as long as it's a Lightsworn monster. I usually aim for Lila, or I aim for Lumina, mainly because Lumina's effect will summon it if I have another Lumina in my hand, and it'll just allow me to circle as much as possible. Sometimes I aim for Necrogardener, even if I do have a Lightsworn on the field that I get ditched. Or I aim for Wolf, or I aim for Felice. Because if they're in my hand, they're dead draws. They're dead cards, I can't use them. But if they're on the top of the deck and I have a Lightsworn, much like one of these guys on the field, it'll get ditched to the grave at the end of the turn, which is a good thing, because if I put Felice on the top, it gets sent to the grave at the end of the turn and then summoned, which is a great thing. But if I don't have a Lightsworn monster, I usually aim for Honest, or aim for one of the big guys. Next, for our Xyz monsters, we have Wind-Up Zenmaines. Now, it's indestructible. Everyone knows the effect, destroy a monster on the field. But once people realize you're playing Lightsworns and you're chucking cards to the grave, they're not going to expect you taking your Lightsworns off the field and keeping them out of the graveyard and putting them into Wind-Up Zenmaines, which again, indestructible wall. It loses a card and then you destroy one of their cards. Great card to use in this kind of deck. Finally, in our Xyz, we have number 49, Fortune Tune. Because of YUGIPROTEGE, he turned my attention to this card. Now, at first, I thought it would only be good in some other kinds of decks, not really Lightsworns. I mean, yeah, it's a winged beast monster, but then I realized it's a light monster you can use Honest Effect on it, and then it's a 3, so you could use Curry Bandit, Necrogardna, Illumina, and Mathematician. All cards that will summon this. Now, if you guys don't know what this effect is every standby phase you have, you gain 500 life points. So you're gaining life points, and it can't be destroyed for 2 attacks. And when it's destroyed, you shuffle 2 cards from your grave back to your deck, and Fortune Tune goes back to your side deck. It is basically a constant loop, allowing you to gain life points constantly. Now, I'm not going to go into the side deck here, guys. You know, I usually just put some random stuff in here while I'm testing. Now, guys, that's my Lightsworn deck. This is probably one of my favorite archetypes to play. If you guys have any questions on this deck, please come over to my channel. It's the Heartbroken Man, and it'll be in the description below. I upload Yu-Gi-Oh content every single day, so remember to go over there and subscribe. And thank you, Yu-Gi-Oh Protege, once more for allowing me to upload this video to your channel. See you guys over at my channel.